Hello, my name is Adam. Welcome to English Daily Progress. Today I want to tell you a story. A story about a boy who could not speak. He had a stammer, a speech impediment. When he tried to talk, words would not come out. He stuttered, he stumbled, he struggled. People laughed at him, mocked him, told him he would never be a speaker. But this boy had a dream. He wanted to be an orator, a public speaker, the best speaker in all of Greece. Everyone said impossible. You cannot speak properly. How can you become a speaker? Give up. Accept your limitation. But the boy did not give up. He did something extreme, something painful, something most people would never do. He put stones in his mouth. He ran up mountains while reciting speeches. He spoke to the ocean waves. He shaved half his head so he could not leave his house. He forced himself to practice, to suffer, to improve. And he did improve. He became the greatest orator in ancient Greece, perhaps the greatest orator in all of history. His name was Demosthenes. And this is his story. A story about turning your greatest weakness into your greatest strength. Let's begin.
Chapter 1. The Boy Who Could Not Speak. Demosthenes was born in 384 BC. When he was 7 years old, his father died. This was a disaster. His father left a large inheritance, money, property, the sword-making business. But Demosthenes was too young to manage it, so his guardians, his uncles, took control. They were supposed to protect the inheritance. Instead, they stole it. They took the money, they sold the property, they ruined the business. By the time Demosthenes turned 18, almost everything was gone. His inheritance stolen, his future destroyed. He was angry, furious. He wanted justice. In Athens, if someone wronged you, you took them to court. But Athenian courts had no lawyers. You had to speak for yourself. You stood in front of judges and citizens. You presented your case. You argued. You persuaded. If you spoke well, you won. If you spoke poorly, you lost. Demosthenes wanted to take his uncles to court to get his inheritance back. But he had a problem, a huge problem. He could not speak. How could he win a court case if he could not even finish a sentence? He needed to learn to speak. Not just speak, speak brilliantly.
Chapter 2. The First Attempt. When Demosthenes was 18, he decided to try to speak in public. He had been practicing at home, alone, reading speeches, trying to control his stammer. He thought maybe he was ready. There was a public assembly, the ecclesia, where citizens gathered to discuss city matters. Anyone could speak. You just had to step forward, raise your hand, and address the crowd. Demosthenes decided to try. He prepared a speech about a political issue. He memorized it. He practiced it alone in his room. He thought he was ready. The day came. Thousands of people gathered. The assembly was crowded, noisy, chaotic. Demosthenes stood up. He raised his hand. The crowd quieted a little. He began to speak. Citizens of Athens, he stammered immediately. Some people laughed. He tried to continue. I want to speak about... More laughter. His face turned red. His hands shook. He could not get the words out. The crowd grew impatient. Sit down. We cannot understand you. Stop wasting our time. Someone threw something at him, a piece of fruit. Others joined in, mocking, laughing, jeering. Demosthenes tried to continue, but he could not. His throat closed. His mind went blank. He ran, off the stage, out of the assembly, away from the laughter. He went home, humiliated, destroyed. He cried. For hours. His dream was impossible. He would never be a speaker. He should give up, accept his fate, live a quiet life, forget about justice, forget about politics, forget about speaking. Most people would have given up, but Demosthenes was not most people.
Chapter 3. The Decision. After the humiliation, Demosthenes locked himself in his room. For days he did not eat much. He did not sleep well. He just thought about his failure, about his stammer, about his future. He had two choices: give up, accept that he would never speak well, live a quiet, powerless life, or fight. Train, force himself to improve, no matter how hard, no matter how painful. He chose to fight. But he knew something. Normal practice would not work. He had tried normal practice. It failed. He needed something extreme, something others would think was crazy. He needed to force himself, to suffer, to break through his limitation. So he made a plan, an extreme plan. First, he would isolate himself. He could not practice in public. Too much pressure, too much fear. He needed to practice alone, completely alone. So he did something shocking. He took a razor and he shaved half of his head. Half. One side normal, one side completely bald. Why? So he would be too embarrassed to go outside. In ancient Athens, appearance mattered. A man with half his head shaved looked ridiculous. People would laugh, point, mock. Demosthenes knew this. He did it on purpose. Now he could not leave his house. He had to stay inside and practice. Every single day. No distractions, no excuses. This was his prison, his training ground.
Chapter 4. The Extreme Training. Demosthenes began his training. Alone in his house. With half a shaved head, he built a study underground, a basement room. No windows, no noise. Complete isolation. He went down there every day and practiced. But how do you fix a stammer? How do you learn to speak clearly? Demosthenes developed methods, extreme methods. Method 1. The stones. He took small pebbles, smooth stones from the beach. He put them in his mouth. Not one, several. Then he tried to speak with stones in his mouth. At first it was impossible. He could barely make sounds. The stones blocked his tongue. His mouth filled with saliva. He choked. He gagged. But he kept trying. Every day. Speaking with stones in his mouth. The idea was simple. If he could speak clearly with stones, he could speak clearly without them. It was torture, painful, frustrating. But slowly, his tongue learned to work around obstacles, learned to articulate precisely, learned to control every muscle.
Method 2. The ocean. Demosthenes would go to the beach, early morning, when no one was there. He would stand at the shore, facing the sea. The waves were loud, crashing, roaring. He would recite speeches, trying to be louder than the waves, trying to project his voice, trying to be heard over the ocean. This trained his lungs, his diaphragm, his vocal power. In Athens, there were no microphones, no amplification. Speakers had to project their voice to thousands of people in open air, competing with wind and noise. Demosthenes trained by competing with the ocean. Method 3. The running. He would climb hills, steep hills, while reciting speeches, running uphill and speaking at the same time. This was brutal. You cannot breathe well while running uphill. Your lungs burn, your chest heaves. But Demosthenes forced himself to speak clearly, even while running, even while breathless. This trained his breath control. In a real speech, you need to speak for hours, without losing your breath, without your voice weakening. Running uphill while speaking trained this. Method 4. The mirror. He practiced in front of a large mirror, watching his face, watching his expressions. In ancient Athens, delivery mattered as much as words. Your face, your gestures, your body language. Demosthenes watched himself, corrected himself, made sure every expression supported his words. Method 5. The sword. He hung a sword from the ceiling, a sharp sword pointed downward. He stood under it while practicing. If he made a nervous gesture, a shoulder shrug that he did habitually, he would hit the sword. It would prick him, hurt him. This trained him to control his body, to eliminate nervous habits, to stand perfectly still unless gesturing intentionally. These methods were extreme, painful. Most people would quit, but Demosthenes did not quit. He practiced every single day, for months, for years, alone in his underground room, with stones in his mouth, speaking to the ocean, running up hills, watching the mirror, standing under a sword.
Chapter 5. The Guardian's Trial. After years of practice, Demosthenes felt ready. His stammer was not completely gone, but it was controlled. He could speak clearly now, with effort, with concentration. It was time to test himself, time to take his uncles to court. He was now 20 years old. He had spent 2 years in isolation, training, suffering, improving. He prepared his case. He wrote his speech. He practiced it 1,000 times. The day came. The court was full. His uncles were there, with their lawyers, confident, smug. They knew Demosthenes could not speak. They had heard about his humiliation at the assembly. They thought this would be easy. The trial began. Demosthenes stood up. His heart was pounding. His hands were shaking. This was the moment. Everything depended on this. He opened his mouth, and he spoke. Clearly, strongly, no stammer. The words flowed. He presented his case. He explained how his uncles stole his inheritance. He showed evidence. He argued. He persuaded. The court was silent, listening, amazed. This was not the stammering boy they expected. This was a speaker, a real speaker. His uncles were shocked. Their lawyers tried to respond, but Demosthenes had prepared for everything. He demolished their arguments. He exposed their lies. He made the court see the truth. The verdict came. Demosthenes won. The court ordered his uncles to return the inheritance. He had done it. Not just won the case, but proved something bigger. He could speak. He was a speaker.
Chapter 6. The Rise of the Orator. After the trial, word spread. The stammering boy had become a speaker. People were amazed, curious. They wanted to hear him again. Demosthenes began taking other cases, helping other people in court, writing speeches for them, delivering speeches himself. He won case after case. His reputation grew. But he wanted more than to be a legal speaker. He wanted to be a political speaker, to address the assembly, to influence Athens, to have real power. But he remembered his first attempt, the humiliation, the laughter, the fruit thrown at him. Could he try again? He decided yes. But he prepared carefully. He chose his moment, a major political crisis. Philip II of Macedon was rising in the north, a powerful king, conquering Greek cities one by one. Most Athenians ignored the threat. They thought Athens was safe, too powerful to be conquered. But Demosthenes saw the danger. He prepared a speech, warning Athens about Philip, urging them to prepare, to fight, to defend their freedom. He went to the assembly, thousands of people. He stepped forward, the same place where he failed years ago. But this time was different. He began to speak. His voice was strong, clear, powerful. He spoke about Philip, about the danger, about what Athens must do. The crowd was silent, completely silent, listening, absorbed. He spoke for over an hour, without notes, without stopping. His voice never weakened, his words never faltered. When he finished, the crowd erupted. Applause, cheers, people rushing to congratulate him. This was not the stammering boy. This was an orator, a master. From that day, Demosthenes became Athens' leading speaker.
Chapter 7. The Philippics. For the next 20 years, Demosthenes dominated Athenian politics. He gave hundreds of speeches. The most famous were called the Philippics, speeches against Philip of Macedon, warning Athens, urging action, rallying the people. These speeches were masterpieces. Perfect structure, powerful language, emotional appeal, logical argument. Everything combined. People would travel from other cities just to hear Demosthenes speak. He became famous across Greece, the greatest orator of his age, perhaps of all time. Other speakers tried to compete. They failed. Demosthenes was in a category of his own. But here is what is amazing. His stammer never completely disappeared. Even at the height of his power, he still struggled sometimes, especially when he was tired, or stressed, or unprepared. The impediment was still there, but he had learned to control it, to work around it, to transform it. His weakness had become his strength. Because he knew he had a weakness, he prepared more than anyone. He practiced more than anyone. He worked harder than anyone. While other speakers relied on natural talent, Demosthenes relied on discipline. And discipline beat talent.
Chapter 8. The Methods that Made Him Great. Let's talk about what made Demosthenes great. It was not natural talent. He had no natural talent for speaking. He had the opposite, a speech impediment. What made him great was method, extreme, disciplined method.
Method 1. Isolation and focus. He shaved his head to force himself to stay inside, to eliminate distractions, to practice every single day. Most people practice when they feel like it. Demosthenes forced himself to practice even when he did not feel like it, especially when he did not feel like it. Method 2. Obstacle training. He put stones in his mouth, making speaking harder, so that when he removed the stones, speaking became easier. This is obstacle training. Make practice harder than performance. Then performance feels easy. Athletes do this. They train with weights, then compete without weights. Demosthenes did the same with speaking. Method 3. Volume and projection. He spoke over the ocean waves, training his voice to be loud, to project, to reach thousands of people. Most speakers have weak voices. They cannot be heard. Demosthenes made sure his voice was his weapon. Method 4. Breath control. He ran uphill while reciting speeches. This trained his lungs, his breathing, his stamina. Speaking for hours requires incredible breath control. Demosthenes trained this like an athlete. Method 5. Physical discipline. The sword hanging from the ceiling, forcing him to control his body, to eliminate nervous gestures, to be intentional with every movement. Speakers are not just voices, they are bodies. Demosthenes mastered both. Method 6. Relentless practice. He practiced for years, alone, every single day. No shortcuts, no excuses, just work. This is the real secret, not talent, work.
Chapter 9. The Lesson for Us. Demosthenes lived over 2,300 years ago, but his lesson is timeless. Your weakness can become your strength, not by ignoring it, not by hiding it, but by facing it, by working on it harder than anyone else. Think about your weakness. Maybe you cannot speak well. Maybe you are shy. Maybe you are not smart. Maybe you are slow. Maybe you have a disability. Whatever it is, you have two choices. Give up. Say, I cannot do this because of my weakness. Or fight. Say, I will do this despite my weakness. I will work harder than everyone. I will find methods. I will train. I will suffer. I will improve. Demosthenes chose to fight. He had the worst possible weakness for his dream. He wanted to be a speaker, but he could not speak. It was like wanting to be a runner with no legs. Impossible. But he did not accept impossible. He created methods, extreme methods, painful methods. He isolated himself. He practiced with stones in his mouth. He spoke to the ocean. He ran up mountains. He stood under a sword for years. And he became the greatest speaker in history, not despite his weakness, because of his weakness. His weakness forced him to work harder, to be more disciplined, to develop better methods. While others relied on talent, he relied on work, and work beat talent. This is the lesson. Whatever your weakness is, it can become your greatest strength if you work on it, relentlessly, without mercy, without excuses.
Chapter 10. Modern Examples. Demosthenes is not the only one. History is full of people who turned weakness into strength. Winston Churchill, one of the greatest speakers of the 20th century, he had a lisp, and he struggled with depression, but he practiced speaking obsessively. He wrote every speech word by word. He rehearsed for hours, and he inspired a nation during World War II. His speeches saved Britain. James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, one of the most recognizable voices in the world. He had a severe stutter as a child. He barely spoke for years, but he worked on it, practiced, trained, and became one of the greatest voice actors ever. Bruce Willis, action movie star. He stuttered as a child, could barely get through a sentence, but he found that acting helped. When he played a character, the stutter disappeared, so he became an actor and became a star. Michael Jordan, greatest basketball player of all time. He was cut from his high school basketball team, told he was not good enough. This motivated him. He practiced obsessively, more than anyone, and he became the best. All these people had weaknesses, serious weaknesses, but they did not give up. They worked, they found methods, they turned weakness into strength, just like Demosthenes.
Chapter 11. How to turn your weakness into strength. So how do you do it? How do you turn your weakness into your strength? Here are the steps. Demosthenes' method. Step 1. Identify the weakness. Be honest. What are you bad at? What do you struggle with? Do not hide from it. Face it. Name it. Step 2. Decide to fight. You have two choices: avoid the weakness or attack the weakness. Most people avoid. They say, "I am bad at this, so I will do something else." But if you really want to succeed in that area, you must fight. Decide to fight. Step 3. Isolate yourself. Demosthenes shaved his head. You do not need to do that, but you need to eliminate distractions. Create space. Create time. Make practice unavoidable. Step 4. Make practice harder than performance. Demosthenes used stones, ocean waves, uphill running. You need to find your version. What makes your weakness even harder? Do that. Practice at the hardest level. Then real performance will feel easy. Step 5. Practice every single day. Not when you feel like it. Every day. No exceptions. Demosthenes practiced for years. You might need years too, or months, or weeks. But it must be consistent, daily. Step 6. Get feedback. Demosthenes used a mirror. He watched himself, corrected himself. You need feedback too. Record yourself. Watch yourself. Or get a coach. Or ask for honest opinions. See your mistakes. Fix them. Step 7. Never stop. Even when Demosthenes became the greatest, he still practiced. He still worked. He never relied on past success. You cannot either. Mastery is not a destination. It is a practice. Forever.
Chapter 12. The End of Demosthenes. Let me tell you how Demosthenes' story ended. He spent his life fighting Philip of Macedon, warning Athens, urging resistance. But Athens did not listen enough. Philip conquered Greece. Then Philip died. His son, Alexander, took over. Alexander the Great. He continued his father's conquest. He conquered the entire known world. Demosthenes opposed Alexander too, but it was hopeless. Alexander was too powerful. Eventually, Alexander demanded that Athens hand over its troublemakers, including Demosthenes. Demosthenes fled. He went to an island temple to claim sanctuary. Alexander's soldiers came for him. They surrounded the temple. Demosthenes knew he could not escape. He asked for a moment to write a letter. They gave him time. He took out a pen. He put the pen in his mouth, as if thinking. But the pen was poisoned. He had prepared for this moment. He bit down on the poison and died, free, on his own terms. This was 322 BC. He was 62 years old. He had spent over 40 years as the greatest orator in Greece, defending freedom, fighting tyranny, using words as weapons. He lost the political fight. Greece fell to Macedonia. But he won something bigger. He proved that the impossible is possible, that a stammering boy can become the greatest speaker, that weakness can become strength, that will is stronger than talent. Over 2,000 years later, we still remember Demosthenes. We still study his speeches. We still tell his story, because it is a story of transformation, of human potential, of refusing to accept limits.
This is the story of Demosthenes, the boy who could not speak, who became history's greatest speaker. My name is Adam, and I told you this story because I want you to understand something. Your weakness is not your end. It is your beginning. Everyone has a weakness, something they cannot do, something they struggle with. Most people let their weakness define them. They say, I cannot do this because I have this weakness, and they give up. But a few people do something different. They say, I cannot do this yet, but I will work on it. I will practice. I will find methods. I will suffer if I have to. I will turn this weakness into my strength. These people change history. Demosthenes did this. He had the worst weakness for his dream. He wanted to be a speaker, but could not speak. But he did not give up. He locked himself away. He put stones in his mouth. He spoke to the ocean. He ran up mountains for years until his weakness became his strength. You can do the same. Whatever your weakness is. Bad at English? Practice obsessively. Shy? Force yourself to speak. Weak? Train relentlessly. Slow? Work harder. Your weakness is your opportunity because it forces you to work when others rely on talent. And work beats talent. Always. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to English Daily Progress for more stories of people who refused to accept limits. Leave a comment and tell me, what is your weakness? And will you fight it, or will you let it define you? The choice is yours. Remember Demosthenes. He could not speak. He became history's greatest speaker. If he can do that, what can you do? See you in the next video. This is Adam, signing off.